You're listening to CFRN, the Christian Financial Radio Network.
Good afternoon, traders, and welcome back to the CFRN Emini Futures Cast. This is the daily broadcast of Indeterminate Length, where we discuss all things Emini, along with some really big ideas on the finer points of trading gold, bonds, crude, sugar, the euro. Joining us today, Mr. Michael Borth. From our trading desk in Chicago, Mr. Burton Schlichter. Now, to get things started, let's go to our host and founder in Studio A, overlooking South Mountain, America's largest city park. Here's Dwayne.
Good afternoon. Welcome back. Today is Thursday, 12th day of September 2024. Thanks so much for joining us. Whoever you are, wherever you are, we're just glad to have you right here, right now. Speaking of Thursday, members only workshop tonight, 8 p.m. Eastern. Members, please have your questions ready. And if you've been on the trial for the past week, you should have gotten an email yesterday, today, maybe both, that gives you specific instructions on how to become a member so that you'll get an invitation to be in the members only workshop tonight. When you're on the trial, you have access to every resource that all of our members have access to, all of our passport holders. Everything except the members only workshop. And so since that's been the name of the workshop since 2008, we're not going to change it. So it's time to make a decision if you've been on the trial. It's very simple. Either it's for you or it's not. Okay. Now, if you haven't taken the free trial, go to mytradingiq.com, and at the very top of the page, there's a link that says 5-day free trial, no credit card required, and there's a purple button. Click that link, fill out the registration form, hit submit. We will get your desktop set up, your indicators indicating today, and then your trial will actually begin tomorrow. You're thinking, whoa, that's a Friday. I better wait till Monday. Oh, no. No, sign up today. What will happen is your trial will officially start tomorrow. The weekend won't count against you, and there are markets that trade over the weekend. And then you'll get all of next week, Monday through Friday. So it's probably the best day of all to sign up for the trial, because you actually end up with 8 days, and that's a good deal. And again, during those 8 days, you'll have access to all the resources, not just the 2 hours of live training every day from 9:30 a.m. to 11:30 a.m. Eastern, but everything else you see on the screen and all the stuff we'll talk about today, you'll have access to. We will treat you just like a passport holder for 5 consecutive trading days. And in this case, you sign up today, you're going to get 8 days where we'll treat you just like a passport holder. That even includes the private mentoring. So, again, mytradingiq.com, top of the page, hit the button. Now, when the live training room ends each day, we take a 30-minute break and come back for this broadcast, which is open to the public. Everybody, everywhere on planet Earth with an internet-connected device. Now, there's two ways to join live. I'll give you the best way first. Go back to mytradingiq.com and this time scroll down the page to where it says Noon Broadcast. Click the link, fill out the 30-second registration form, and you're done. You only have to do that once. What will happen going forward is every trading day you'll get an email about an hour before the broadcast starts. In that email, there's a link. So at 12 noon Eastern, all you have to do is click the link in the email and it will automatically log you into our platform. The benefit there is you'll have access to the question box so you can ask questions and participate in the discussion. Of course, there'll be days you're out of the office, away from the desktop, but you'd still like to join live. And there'll be days when you're busy, can't join live, but want to catch up later. You can do both of those via our YouTube channel, which is easy to remember. youtube.com/CFRN. You already know the YouTube part, so all you got to remember is CFRN. Not only do we broadcast live on our YouTube channel every trading day, as we're doing right now, simulcasting, but we also archive each and every daily broadcast. Currently, there are over 2,600 daily episodes archived for your educational and viewing pleasure. And if you're new to the world of CFRN, that's a great way to get to know who we really are. Thanks to the power of YouTube, you can scroll back 6 weeks, 6 months, 6 years, even more. Just pick some days at random. Watch a little bit. Go to another day, week, month, year, watch a little bit. You'll literally see how we've evolved over the years. Obviously, the more recent episodes are going to be more relevant to what's happening in the world and in the markets right now. But again, it's a massive library, the largest library I know of on this topic. So enjoy yourself. youtube.com/CFRN. This is our daily schedule, which we do our best to adhere to each and every day. However, today Michael won't be able to join us at 12:50. His son's sick. He had to take him to the doctor. So today's broadcast will be a little shorter than normal. But everything else we normally do, that's what we're going to do. We'll get started right now. We are in day 12 of our current devotional, God's Dream for Your Life. Today's scripture is 2 Timothy 2, verses 8 through 13. And I'm going to share with you from the Message translation. Beginning in verse 8, fix this picture firmly in your mind. Jesus, descended from the line of David, raised from the dead. It's what you've heard from me all along. It's what I'm sitting in jail for right now. But God's word isn't in jail. That's why I stick it out here, so that everyone God calls will get in on the salvation of Christ in all its glory. This is a sure thing. If we die with him, we'll live with him. If we stick it out with him, we'll rule with him. If we turn our backs on him, he'll turn his back on us. If we give up on him, he does not give up. For there's no way he can be false to himself. Again, 2 Timothy 2, verses 8 through 13. Now, we've talked the last couple days about the delay that we experience as we wait on God's dream for our life, the dream He has given us. Because we all have a purpose, we all have a reason. He didn't create us to just take up space. So, if you're waiting on God, if you're in that delay period, don't fear, don't fret, and don't faint. When our dream is delayed, it causes us to forget many things. We tend to even forget our dream. We forget what God has done in our lives and His goodness to us in the past. We tend to forget that God is with us. We forget God's power. This was the fourth mistake that the Israelites made in the wilderness. They forgot the many times God showed them His love, and they rebelled against the Almighty at the Red Sea. But He saved them, as He had promised, in order to show His great power. But they quickly forgot what He had done and acted without waiting for His advice. You can read about that in Psalm 106. It's unbelievable how short their memory was and how short our memory is. In Egypt, God sent 10 plagues on the Egyptians just to rescue His people. And the children of Israel forgot it just a few days later when they're at the Red Sea saying, "We're all going to die." They forgot what God had done. Then God does a miracle and opens the Red Sea. They walk through to the other side and immediately forget that miracle and cry, "We're going to die of thirst." God miraculously provides water. The Israelites forget that and complain, "We're going to die because we have no food." They were always forgetting God's goodness and power. But we shouldn't be too quick to judge them, because we do the exact same thing today, thousands of years later. When a delay occurs in our lives, we start acting like God's never done anything for us. Has God done things for you in the past? Of course He has. And you can count on Him to do it again tomorrow and the next day and even the day after that. Instead of forgetting, we need to remember God's promises. There are more than 7,000 of them in the Bible. Whenever you have a problem, find a promise like 2 Timothy 2:13. Even when we are too weak to have any faith left, He remains faithful to us and will help us, and He will always carry out His promises to us. Promises are always greater than the problems you're facing. God may not have fulfilled the promise in your life because He's waiting on you. See, you thought you were waiting on God, but sometimes He's waiting on you. Think about it. How many times has that been true for you? If you get a notice from the electric company that in so many days they're going to turn off your electricity, you can sit on your couch, pray, you can even fast. Probably if you can't afford electricity, maybe you can't afford food either. But if that notice said in 7 days the electricity's going off, guess what? In 7 days the electricity's going off. But I prayed, but I fasted. But what action did you take? See, if you have no way to raise the money to pay that bill, sitting on your couch won't help anything. Maybe you go out with a humble idea in a plastic bag and say, doggone it, I'll collect aluminum cans if I have to get this bill paid. Once God sees that you're in action, that's when opportunities will present themselves. Maybe you find some stash of aluminum cans that somehow every other picker has missed. Or perhaps as you're out picking up those cans, somebody pulls up and goes, hey buddy, that's a tough gig. You looking for some work? I got a couple days work for you. You see, we wait on God. God's waiting on us. So if your dream is delayed, ask yourself, who's doing the waiting? Who needs to move first? We expect God to move first. God expects us to move first. He's waiting on you to learn to not fear, not fret, not faint, not forget. He wants you to learn that before he delivers you. God can do things immediately, but he's working on a much larger agenda. The delays that come in your life do not destroy God's purpose. They fulfill God's purpose in your life. Join me in a word of prayer. Heavenly Father, we thank you for the truth in 2 Timothy, that even when we are faithless, you remain faithful. Help us to remember Jesus Christ, risen from the dead, and to endure all things for the sake of your kingdom. Strengthen us to remain steadfast, trusting in your promises. And today, Lord, we lift up Michael's son Jake. We ask for your healing hand to be upon him as he battles this fever that he has. We pray it just be something simple, the flu, cold, nothing at all serious. Please guide the doctors and the nurses with wisdom and bring comfort and peace to both Michael and Jake and all of their family during this time. We pray, God, that your healing touch will restore his health quickly. It's in Jesus' name we believe and pray. And everybody said, amen. Well, amen and happy Thursday. Let me give you the numbers from around the world. Start here in the U.S. with the cash markets, or the indices as they're called. Currently the Dow is down 47 points. The NASDAQ is up 51. S&P 500 is up 5. The Russell 2000 is up 17. That's almost 1%. So we'll see who plays follow the leader there. Crude oil on a tear, up $2.18, trading $69.49 last. That's a gain of 3.25%. Now, when crude oil moves $1 in price, that's worth $1,000 per futures contract traded. So we're talking about a move during this session of $2,180 per contract traded. Gold is up $37.40, trading $25.79.50 last. That's a gain of 1.5%. Silver. Go silver. Up $1.16, trading $30.09 last. That's a gain of 4%. When the price of silver moves $1, that's worth $5,000 per contract traded. And again, silver is up $1.15 on the session. In the Asian markets at the close, the Nikkei posted a gain with a comma, 1,000. I'll never forget the first time I got a paycheck when I was a young man that had a comma in it. Oh my goodness. And by Monday it was all gone. That's back when you got paid on Friday and you went to the bank, cashed your check, you know. Yeah. I know some of you've been through that. So the Nikkei posted a gain of $1,213.50. That's 3.5%. The Shanghai dropped 4 points. Did I say cents? No, I meant points. 1,213 points. 13.5. Shanghai dropped 4 points. The Hang Seng gained 131. And in the European markets at the close, FTSE up 47. The DAX up 188. That's just over 1%. The CAC up 38. So we had a mixed day in Asia, only because of the Shanghai. It was a green day for the UK, and at the moment, it is a mixed radio Thursday here in the US of A. We've got 3 of the major indices in the green. One by quite a bit, the Russell, the other 2, not so much. And the Dow's only down 42 points. So now it's down 30 points. It only takes 20 points to get your goal for the day. So it looks like the Dow is going to finally follow the rest of the pack. We like to see all 4 of the major indices the same color. As futures traders, we can be long, short, long again, all in the same hour if that's what the chart in front of us tells us to do. But when all 4 markets are the same color, that's when you tend to get the best follow through on your trades. So, looks like the Dow wants to head in the direction of the other 3. So we'll know by the end of the session. Well, Hurricane Francine made landfall yesterday around 60 miles southwest of New Orleans as a Category 2 hurricane before weakening to a Category 1. State of emergency is in effect statewide and in Mississippi, with a shelter-in-place order in effect for Nolens following the end of evacuation windows. The storm's center has been traveling north. Officials are also bracing for possible tornadoes and the risk of storm surge. Today, the storm is expected to continue on to Mississippi, with flood warnings extending to Florida. Roughly 1/4 of the Gulf Coast's oil and gas production has been shut down. The region is responsible for about 15% of domestic oil production. Louisiana has witnessed some of the strongest hurricanes in U.S. history. Among 57 documented storms was Hurricane Katrina, which killed more than 1,390 people back in 2005, when the levee failures left 80% of the city underwater. What an amazing comeback story it has been. And now, this. But if they could handle Katrina, they can handle this. Let's look at market news. Moderna said it aims to reduce its research and development budget by about 20% over the next 3 years as it tries to find a path to profitability following disappointing vaccine sales. And Moderna is down 15% on the session. It's quite a hit. The biotech is discontinuing 5 programs in its pipeline and slowing some late-stage studies of treatments for latent and rare diseases to achieve the $1.1 billion cut from its annual research and development budget by 2027. Shares fell as much as 19% at the open this morning. They had lost 20% this year through Wednesday's close. So we're talking down, let's see, what is it? We're down now 15. So we're talking about Moderna down 35% on the year. Berkshire Hathaway. What's going on over there? We know about all the Bank of America stock that's been sold and some of the other stock. Berkshire Hathaway's Vice Chair of Insurance Operations, Ajit Jain, sold $139 million worth of his Class A shares in Warren Buffett's conglomerate. Now, if you've been trading stocks any length of time, you know that when insiders start selling, well, they see things that you and I don't see. Is it the oncoming recession? Do they think it's possibly a depression? Now, in the case of Warren, you might say, well, you know, the guy's only going to live so many years. We hope he lives a lot more years, but you know, at some point you take profits. But here's the thing. Warren's got more money than he could ever spend in what's left of this lifetime. So I think there has to be another motivation. And so we have now another insider dumping $139 million worth of Class A shares in Berkshire Hathaway. Jain is one of Buffett's top lieutenants. He disposed of 200 of the Class A shares for about $695,418 each. Imagine, one share, $695,000. According to a regulatory filing yesterday, the disposal means a long-term executive is left with control of 166 such shares, 61 of which he directly owns. When reached by phone, Jain declined to comment. Berkshire Hathaway didn't immediately respond to a request for comment either. Time will tell. Apple's artificial intelligence offering, Apple Intelligence, AI. See what they did there? Of course you do. was the star of its annual iPhone event on Monday. But for investors, the slow rollout of Apple Intelligence could pose a problem. While Apple's iPhone 16 hits stores on September 20th, the software update required for Apple Intelligence won't be available for U.S. English users until October. The disconnect between the hardware and software may have been one reason why Apple stock didn't move much on the news. Shares of the iPhone maker were down about 0.9% during the company's Glow Time presentation in Cupertino, and they were up less than 1% over the last 3 days since the event. Goldman Sachs says it's no big surprise. Okay, we'll take your word for it. New Delhi from Reuters. An Indian antitrust investigation has found U.S. e-commerce giant Amazon and Walmart's Flipkart violated local competition laws by giving preference to select sellers on their shopping websites, according to, of course, confidential reports seen by Reuters. The Competition Commission of India in 2020 ordered an investigation into Amazon and Flipkart for allegedly promoting certain sellers with which they had business arrangements and giving priority to certain listings. Now, if you go to the Amazon site and you search for anything, a flower pot, a teacup, a lawnmower, you're probably going to click the top result. Maybe if you're a serious shopper, you'll click the second result and the third result. And maybe you'll even take time to read the reviews, which is a whole nother story in itself. Amazon, they know what's selling and what's not selling. So if a certain kind of teacup or lawnmower is flying out the door, you better believe they're going to do one of two things. They're going to offer their own brand. They just got to make a quick phone call to China and say, hey, you know those lawnmowers you're making for ABC company over there? Yeah. Make us a truckload, a boatload, a couple boatloads. Yeah, just stick the Amazon name on it. Could you do that? Okay, thanks. See you next time I'm there. Suddenly, this retailer who has an Amazon store and has been doing quite well and is quite excited, suddenly sees his traffic drop off. Why is nobody coming to my store anymore for this super-powered teacup or lawnmower? Because Amazon now has their own teacup or lawnmower or whatever else. And guess who's going to be number one in the rankings? Or they may just decide to cut a deal with a particular retailer with a product, whichever one will give them the best deal. And then they don't even have to go to the trouble of making that call to China and having all those lawnmowers or teacups stamped with their brand. They're going to get hammered in this. In a 1,027-page report on Amazon and a separate 1,700-page report on Flipkart, both dated August 9th, the CCI investigators said the two companies were found to have created an ecosystem which preferred sellers appeared higher in search results, elbowing out other sellers. So, if you have an Amazon store, I hope you're doing wonderful. But you need a backup plan. Okay. U.S. Treasury today reported a $380 billion federal budget deficit for August. Now, that's just 1 month. We're $35+ trillion in debt as a nation. And we just added another $380 billion in August. A massive shift from the $89 billion surplus in August of 2023 that resulted from the reversal of President Joe Biden's student loan forgiveness program. The deficit for the first 11 months of the 2024 fiscal year reached $1.897 trillion, a 24% increase from a gap of $1.525 trillion in the year ago period, as the current year's interest cost on public debt topped $1 trillion for the first time. We're paying $1 trillion a year in interest as a nation. Never happened before, but now it has. $35 trillion in debt costs us $1 trillion a year. Interest-only payments. Will we ever pay down the principal? Sweet dreams. And we had one other economic report this morning. If you can believe it, inflation continued its downward trend at 2.5% year over year in August, according to the latest CPI that came out this morning, reaching the lowest level since February of 2021 and approaching the Federal Reserve's 2% target. The data solidified market expectations that the Fed will lower interest rates when it meets next week. Now, if we hit the 2% mark, all these rate hikes we've seen, why not just wipe them out in one fell swoop? Let the country get healthy again. Let the country grow again. Allow businesses to expand, to hire new employees, to create jobs. Oh no, they're going to trickle it out. Because that's how you heal a fragile economy, in case you didn't know. You raise interest rates. I guess it worked in the 70s, and they're going to claim that it's worked again. So, there you go. That's the news. Logic 247. That's our 24/7 around the clock E-mini alert service. Not just E-minis, but also crude, gold, euro, bonds, silver. We're currently in week 319. Over the last 319 weeks, we have now issued over 17,800 individual handcrafted alerts. What we've averaged over those 319 weeks and 17,800 alerts is 20% or less being stopped out, based on market structure and a simple process we teach all of our passport holders in their one-on-one mentoring sessions. This week, since the markets opened Sunday night at 6 p.m. Eastern, we've issued a total of 44 alerts. Actually, there's been some more issued because Valerie did this recap this morning at 6:30 a.m. Eastern. So she will, of course, update it this afternoon ahead of tonight's workshop. But at the time she did the recap this morning, we had issued a total of 44 alerts this week, still waiting on the outcome of 4, gave us 40 actionable alerts, of which 5 or 13% would have been stopped out, again based on market structure and that simple process we teach all of our passport holders. Now, logic alerts are not created so you can just trade them and not have to worry about learning how to trade. They're a tool to help you learn to read the chart, to understand where you're most likely to find resistance and most likely to find support, and how to spot windows of opportunity. Every logic alert comes with an entry price, an initial target, in many cases, additional targets, sometimes 2, 3, 4, 5. If it says PR, that's potential resistance, but it's also a target. PS, on a short trade, that stands for potential support, and that's also a target. Okay? So if you look at an alert and you've missed the initial entry, each time price cruises through one target and is headed towards the other target, that right there in and of itself is a window of opportunity. So I just can only encourage you, I can't force you. Use the logic alerts as they're intended to help you learn to read the chart. Because until you can read a chart and know with a great deal of certainty, when you look at a 30-minute chart, what the next high probability move is, until you get to that point, it's going to be very difficult to actually learn how to trade. So you got to take it step by step, one little bit at a time. I know everybody, wants to become a trader overnight. Just click the mouse, make a lot of money, go about their day. Okay? And our goal is to get you to that point. We want you to become self-sufficient. We want you to get to the point where you don't need us. We hope you'll hang around and be a part of our community. To whom much is given, much is required. No better example of that than Stefan. Okay? And we appreciate Stefan's work very much. In the discussion group, lots of comments, lots of charts. Does a fantastic job. Now, 319 weeks, 17,800 alerts. That's a lot. And to average 20% on a weekly basis being stopped out, that's pretty good too. But we don't want to pat ourselves on the back too much. God loves a humble man. And if you're not humble, he has ways of humbling you. The CTAs, that was our original alert service. Okay? Now, whether you're a member or a trial member, you can read all of these instructions here that go along with the alerts. The logic alerts can come out anytime around the clock, 2 a.m. or 2 p.m. Futures trade around the clock, and we have traders around the globe. Their day session is our night session, and vice versa. But the CTAs don't come out around the clock. They're posted as a static report shortly after the Globex open each evening. So last night, 25 minutes after the open, all members and trial members had every one of these targets. Okay? And again, along with the alerts, each night I publish the instructions, talk about the 30-minute. Every alert is created on a 30-minute chart. The BBC is the green line you see on my charts. Markets are fractal in nature. You can put the BBC on any time frame. I use the 30-minute not because there's something magical about 30 minutes. It's just a time frame I've used for years, and the time frame that has served me well. BBC just stands for bull, bear, cross. When price crosses above the green line, Doesn't matter if you're on a 30-minute chart, a daily chart, a weekly chart, a monthly chart, a 5-minute chart, a tick chart, a range chart. If price crosses above the green line, you should anticipate higher prices. If price drops below the green line, no matter what chart you're on or market, you should anticipate lower prices. It's really quite simple. Okay? All right, let's go to the daily chart of the S&P, as we do every day at this time. And we have an interesting picture. Okay. This is the all-time historic high right here, put in on July 16th, 57.21 and a quarter. These Fib retracements were drawn from the low of April 19th to that high of July 16th. We saw a 62% plus retracement. We came down and even briefly on that day spiked the previous bullish cross. Spent the rest of the week consolidating right at that area. And then we had an incredible rally until we got to the 50% Fib extension and we went sideways. Once blue and climbing, got directly above price and turned to red and falling, that's an indication to look for lower prices. And we closed below the 24% Fib retracement and the daily BBC. And that sent us down right here. This bullish cross right here is reflected in this day right here. Whenever you have a bullish cross that leads to an extended move, the first time price revisits that area will almost always be good support. And it was. Gave us a little bounce. In fact, the low of the day was 54.90. And we closed at 55.11 and a half. So that's 21.5 point bounce. And then price continued lower. Took out the 38, but never made it to the 50. On this move down, we hit the 50. On this move up, we did not put in a new all-time historic high. And on this drop, we didn't make it to the 50% Fib retracement. In fact, the unusual is happening right before our eyes. Now, take a look over here. Okay. Could this become a repeat of that? Not going to forecast that, but I'm not going to rule it out either. Where's our resistance right now? Well, it's at the high of the session, but price right now is sort of trapped because we closed above the BBC and opened above the BBC. As long as we close the day, close the session above the BBC, then we should anticipate higher prices. First obstacle overhead is the 38% Fib extension, and then the 50, and then these highs right across here, and then the 62, and then the all-time high. Should something happen and we don't close above the BBC today, now, doesn't seem possible, but you got to embrace all possibilities. So no matter what the market does, if it closes above and attempts to make a run at the all-time high, remember it's got this obstacle or target overhead, this obstacle or target, and then these obstacles or targets. Then you got the 62, And you notice how blue and climbing, how it made its turn right at the 62. It would not surprise me any at all to see price make a run to the 62, right to the top of where that curve is, then drop. Then it becomes a question of, well, does the pullback to the BBC hold or not? It holds more often than not. This time, didn't hold. We've had 2 times, okay? Here, this held, but it ran into resistance, so we traded through. Just like on a 30-minute chart, when price trades through, it will typically come back to test either the weekly zone or the BBC, continue in the direction of what we call the slice. So overhead, we got the 24% fib retracement, and right below that line, here's the 24 fib extension, here's the 24% fib retracement. We're just barely off the high of the day. So it would take, I think, a pretty dramatic move to push us back below the BBC. So the path of least resistance at this point, because as we look left, we don't have any obstacles, okay? I mean, that's a huge red candle, okay? Could that be duplicated in the color green? It could. But it's got to overcome this obstacle first. So we'll see. Now I'm showing you a daily chart because I want you to put the daily chart in your trading plan. When you sit down to trade every day, spend 2 minutes looking at the daily chart of whatever market it is that you actually trade, or markets. You see, institutional traders, the ones who actually move price because of their account size and the size they trade in. They literally move price. You and I, we're liquidity. Okay? Now, our strategy and indicators are not designed to outsmart the institutions with their infinite resources and deep pockets. Not at all. However, our strategy and indicators are designed to help you see and understand what the deep pockets are doing, what their goals are, where the obstacles lie, okay? So that you can, all you have to do is whatever they're doing, just long enough to get your goal for the day. Our strategy isn't designed, as Michael often says, to trade 100 times a day. You simply want to get in, get your goal for the day, have the discipline to put the mouse away, and go do life. But you got to learn to get your goal for the day consistently. Okay? 24/20 blueprint walks you through the process. When you become a passport holder, you're not going to start trading live right away. Doesn't matter how many years of experience you have. I mean, you can. Obviously, we don't have any control over that. But the 24/20 blueprint is going to walk you through putting together 10 consecutive days in a row in Sim, where you reach your goal in 10 trades or less. Then it will give you the green light to go live with one contract. Once you go live with one contract, now your goal is to increase your account balance by $2,000. Once you do that, the blueprint gives you the green light to go live with a second contract. The difference between the first and second contract is the first contract is funded with your startup capital, the money you funded your account with. But if you follow the blueprint, the second contract you add is funded with profit you earned in the market. The blueprint's going to tell you when it's time to add number 3, number 4, number 5, number 10, all the way up to number 20. But you only add one at a time, and you only add with profit you earned in the market. Also, the blueprint is going to help you write your business plan and your trading plan. If you fail to plan, then you're planning to fail. Every successful business out there, not just in the financial markets, but in the whole world, has a business plan. Even if it's a rickshaw driver in China, he's got a business plan. He knows what time he has to get up. He knows what time of day there's the most traffic. He knows what spots he's most likely to see a familiar face. And, there's a plan. Now, the business plan and the trading plan are two very different documents. One is how you manage your business. The other is how you execute your business. So if you're struggling, why not go back to square one? Just start the process over. Nobody's watching you. Nobody's judging you. But is it worth it to get it right so that you can become consistent on a daily basis? I guess you have to make that decision. Okay, looks like we're up again. Looks like high of the day. Could we make it all the way to that 38% fib extension by the close today? Well, that means we would need to run up another 20, 40 points on the ES. Is that possible? You got to embrace all possibilities. As I said earlier, because the ES is not up that much on the day. I mean, basically, we've traded sideways since the markets opened last night. So to jump up 40 points from where we are now, that's certainly not impossible or unthinkable. As I said earlier, all alerts, logic, and concierge are created on the 30-minute chart. The vertical line separates today, Thursday, from Wednesday, from Tuesday. When price encounters a weekly trading zone, what you'll find 70% of the time is consolidation. Okay? Price drops to a zone, we expect support until proven otherwise. When price rallies up to a zone, we expect resistance until proven otherwise. Here, that's proven otherwise. Okay. Now, the ES has been butting its head up against the weeklies, and all these zones were published Monday morning at 6:15 a.m. Eastern. All of our members, all of our trial members had the weekly zones at 6:15 a.m. Eastern Monday morning. Once they're published, they're carved in stone for the entire week. They don't change in any way whatsoever. Published the zones since December 14th of 2009. So this December will make 15 years that we've delivered the zones on Monday to our members and trial members. So the London Open right here took us right up to the weekly zone, to the tick. Remember, when price moves up to a zone, we expect resistance until proven otherwise. Resistance will send the market looking for support. So price pull back to the BBC. The pullback holds more often than not. So support sent us back to the same resistance, which sent us back to the same support, back to the same resistance. This time we pull back to the BBC, we actually traded below the BBC, but we never took out this low right here. So that's actually a sign of strength. And this candle took us up almost to the zone, another pullback to the BBC, and again we hit the zone. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 times. Now we've finally broken through the zone. The zone is 55.77/78. Still got one more zone way up there. Don't think we'll see it this week, but it's up there in case we do. Now 77.78 is the zone. We sliced through the zone with this 30-minute candle like wasn't even there. It was obviously here on all these attempts. We spiked it here but closed way below it back at the BBC. Again, we spiked it, but look where we closed. When we slice through a zone like this on the 30-minute chart, what typically happens is price will retrace back to the zone it sliced through and then continue in the direction of the slice. 70% of the time you're going to get this consolidation. 20% of the time rejection. That's what that is right there. And 10% of the time slice. So if you are looking to trade long, then you need to make sure price takes out this high. Not by a tick, not by a point, but convincingly. Okay. Again, what we anticipate based on historical price action is that price will retrace back to the zone it sliced through and continue in the direction of the slice. Now, it may be the slice hasn't run out of steam yet. Okay. And does that happen 100% of the time? No. Does it happen more often than not? Yes. So here's where we opened last night. On the ES, we just traveled sideways. And then we climbed the back of the step line right up to the long target. And then we just consolidated for hours. We had a couple of drops. Again, if this low had taken out this low, then there's a great possibility we would have dropped to this low and then down right here to the bullish cross. This is just sideways congestion. Now, you'll often see this type of movement before a blast off or a reversal. So that's the big question here. Is the market attempting to make a turn? Well, buyers haven't stopped buying because, we're right at the high of the day. It takes financial commitment for price to rise. For price to fall, that doesn't require any financial commitment. Institutional traders, if they hit pause on the buy side, price will just deteriorate. Not to mention, when the institutions that specialize in short selling realize the institutional buyers have hit pause on the buy side, then they come out of the woodwork and sell, because that's just simple money. Nothing in trading is easy, but it can be simple. Look how fast and how far price falls. That's because it doesn't take financial commitment for this to happen, just an absence of buying. But for this to happen, people have to reach into their pocket and put real money to work in order to send price higher. Now, the high of this previous candle was 55.86. And the high of this candle is 55.86. So we got a little double top going right here. On the Dow, here's where we opened. And again, walked up the back of the step line right to the target. Consolidated for hours. Reached up. We had a spike off that news. Okay, now this is Thursday, Wednesday, Tuesday, Monday. So the high Monday on the Dow, 41.065. Today, 41.100. So as you see, we took it out by a little bit. But then look what happened with that candle. Man, that thing dropped fast. Thursday, Wednesday, Tuesday, Monday. Yesterday, you can see the low of the day came in right at the weekly zone. Tuesday, the low came in at the weekly zone. And we went from zone to zone on Monday, from zone to zone. We pushed through the zone and came back to the BBC, which bounced us into resistance. And this is just kind of snarled up here. Okay. And we dropped to support at the zone. And then we rallied up to the zone and found resistance. And then yesterday, we sliced through this zone big time. And we didn't, and that, what time was that? 9:30, that was right off the Wall Street Open. That was a reaction to the debate, yeah. But the zone published Tuesday morning at 6:15. That's where the market found support. And then we got the big rally, the mega rally. Question is it run out of steam? We're still printing green, but for the Dow, we're still off the high of the day. Remember when we went over the four major indices, the Dow was the only one in the red. It's no longer in the red because this is higher than this. Okay, the Russell. We opened right at the weekly zone. Yesterday was an interesting day. We ran up to the zone, found resistance, dropped to the zone, found support. Support bounced us up to the BBC, the pullback holds more often than not. And it sent us back down to the zone below. Overshot it a little bit. And then here we go, right back up to the zone where we found resistance. This is Wednesday, Tuesday. We had a double top at the zone. Resistance, resistance. Finally got above it last night. And we made our run to the long target. Consolidated along the target for a bit. Pull back to the BBC. Pull back held for one candle. Then we dropped to the weekly zone. And we spiked it. Again, that was off the Wall Street Open. Spiked it down. We didn't take out. If we had taken out that low right there, that would have probably taken us to this low. And then to here. But price had other ideas. So it went from support all the way up to resistance. And then we got a retracement. found support at blue and climbing. That has now pushed us above the zone at 28/29. High of the session so far, 2132.9. No reason to even consider the short target because we never traded below this zone. And on the way down, we would know that this area would be potential support. Okay. On the NQ, sideways action. This was the open. We ran right up to the long target. So on the ES, the Dow, the Russell, the NQ, reaching your goal for the day was simple, not easy, last night. And then look at how many hours we consolidated. Goodness. At the zone. Now the BBC rose to meet price. Okay, that's a different dynamic than when price drops to meet the BBC. This candle here, the Wall Street Open, we came down, and the zone is 19,178/79. Below of that candle was 85, so we missed it by just a few ticks. I'm actually touching the zone. Support. This is a leg up. Retracement to the BBC. Leg up. Retracement to the BBC. A leg up. Now, here's the high of the session. 388.75. 392.25. So we've taken out the high now by just a little bit, but let it be convincing. Okay. So the next zone overhead is up here. That's, I think, the highest zone for the week. It is. So just a lot of sideways consolidation. All the markets are looking like they want to break out to the upside, and they very well may. And I'm talking the indices. Just keep in mind, it could be a head fake. Crude oil. Big day for crude. Remember, when crude moves $1, it's worth $1,000 per contract traded. So we opened last night on this candle right here. It opened at 67.39. We call it 67.40. At 68.40, that's $1,000 per contract traded. At 69.40, that's $2,000 per contract traded. So we opened here, and once we were above the BBC, and once that little bit of red and falling turned to blue and climbing, this took us right up to the target, through the target. We hit the zone, resistance, consolidation, and then we get a retracement back to the BBC. Then we put in a slightly higher high and get a retracement back to the BBC. And from that support, it took us from zone to zone. From 68.30 to 69.65. That's what, $1,350 per contract traded. Yeah. Now what are we doing? Well, the step line is attempting to cross blue and climbing. That means a potential pullback to the BBC. Pullback holds more often than not. So once, be patient, let price get back to the BBC. And then on your smaller time frame for opportunities to be long the market. Keeping in mind areas of resistance that price will have to overcome. If price were to drop right now, probably won't. It's got to take out this low, and then it's got to take out this area right here, which is that low. Okay. You see that? Okay. So we get to pull back to the VVC on the way back up. We got to overcome balloon climbing, got to overcome the step line. Okay. But again, you only need 10 ticks with crude. Get your goal for the day. When crude moves $1, 10 ticks is $100. So 100 ticks, that's a $1 move, $1,000 per contract traded. Gold, here's where we open. We opened below the VVC. We attempted to drop to the short target, but we didn't make it. In fact, we didn't even take out these lows right here. Buyers came in, scooped it up. We pulled up to the VVC and found resistance, dropped to balloon climbing, found support, and then off we go, up to the VVC. I'm sorry, up to the long target. That resistance sends the market looking for support. It sends us looking for resistance, back to support, back to resistance. Now here, we spiked the BVC, but the next candle reversed and took us right back above it. And then we had a perfect stack all the way up. Okay. Remember, this is an all-time high price for gold. We first hit the zone here. We had some resistance, pushed us back a little. But on the second attempt, we overcame it. Okay. Now, that's a slice. Okay, see the 30-minute candle? Now, it's really part of a consolidation pattern, but we can call it a slice. We sliced through the zone like it wasn't even there, and then price came all the way back down to the zone, and then continued in the direction of the slice. Now, the high of the day may be in for gold for two reasons. One, balloon climbing has now gotten directly above price. See, on the way up, you had what I call the perfect stack: price, step line, balloon climbing, BVC. The dynamic has now changed. The step line has crossed, which tells us to anticipate a retracement to the BVC. But it looks like price wants to go up and test balloon climbing. That would be a new high on the day. Okay. Balloon climbing right now is at 25.84.5, and the high of the day is 83.6. So we could go up and tag that and then do the retracement. We expect the pullback to hold until proven otherwise. So if it holds, you got a chance to trade it back up to this zone. If price trades through the VBC this time, then you've got all this area down here. Either way, you should end up with a trade by the end of the day. See, we just barely tagged balloon climbing, and now we've come off. But we got to get below the zone. We got to get below this little double bottom here. This low, this low, this low. So there's a lot of obstacles on the way down. The fact that the step line has crossed tells us that's the most likely path. Okay. All right, silver. Huge day for silver. When silver moves $1, that's worth $5 grand. Okay. So what price did we open last night? We opened at 29.02. At 30.02. That's $5,000 per contract traded. It only takes 2 pennies in silver to get your goal for the day. Here's where we opened last night. We pulled back to the BBC. We got above red and falling. Made a run at the zone. Consolidated sideways. Hit the long target. And in doing so, we spiked that long target and we took out yesterday's high. Okay? But not by much. So we got to come back and do it again. Price comes back to the BBC and the weekly zone. That's support times 2. And that launched this huge move in silver. But look at the step line. See how on the way up, price, step line, blue and climbing, BBC. But look at it now. That step line is just on the verge of crossing blue and climbing. That high right there might be the high of the day. Once that step line crosses, just like any other market, price comes down. It's got potential support there, potential support there, potential support there, potential support there, and then we're at the BBC. Pullback holds, then you get a long trade to the upside. If the pullback fails to hold, then you have an opportunity to trade to the downside, but just watch this low right here as potential support. Okay. All right, on the euro, this is where we open. We dropped. We did not take out this low from yesterday on any of these moves down. So we didn't hit the short target, but we found support. That sent us up to the zone, back down to these same lows. 1, 2, 3, it's like a quadruple bottom. Now you'll notice we did consolidate quite a bit at the weekly trading zone. Yesterday, the high of the day was at the weekly zone. Low of the day, we spiked it, traded below it a little bit, but by the close, we were sitting right on top of the zone. And that's pretty much how price trades, from zone to zone to zone. And so price is trying real hard right now to get to that zone. If price is above the 30-minute BBC, it's trying to get to the zone above. If price is below the 30-minute BBC, it's trying to get to the zone below. Here we are, still trying to make it up to this next obstacle, 38% fib extension. Is it doable? Well, we just looked at a 30-minute chart. We said we only needed, what, 40 points? So we got a high now. The high is still 55.90. Can the S&P rally another 40 points by the close? It could. Because, based on the cash markets, refresh that. Take a look at the indices themselves, not the futures. But remember, the Dow is in the red. Now the Dow is up 150 points. The NASDAQ up 146, almost 1%. The S&P is up 32. So adding another 40 points would put it up 72 on the day, which would be roughly 1% on the session. So I'm not forecasting that'll happen. I'm just saying it's certainly possible. And the Russell is now up 23.5 points, which is well over 1%. So there you have it. To become a member, go to mytradingiq.com. Got questions? Call us at 949-42-EMINI. Send us an email, support@cfrn.net. When you become a passport holder, you'll have access to the live training room, 2 hours every trading day. Interactive environment. You're trading along in your demo account, qualifying to go live, and then once you go live, you're still doing the same thing. But more importantly is you're asking every question that pops into your head. If you do that, within 2 weeks, you'll run out of questions. Honestly, because the strategy's just quite simple. So don't be shy. When you're in the room, nobody sees what you type but myself, Michael, Bert, Valerie. And we're not here to judge you. We're here to try and help you in any way that we can. So take advantage out of something that 90% of traders don't have. And that's a teacher. Much less 2 hours a day. They don't have a teacher at all. Well, they read a book, they watched a video. Yeah, nothing wrong with that. But it's not a replacement for a living, breathing teacher who can answer your questions live in real time. How many times have you been reading a book about trading or watching a video about trading and wish you could ask the author or the producer a question? They just said something and it didn't quite make sense. And you can hit pause on the video, but you can't ask a question because it's all after the fact. That's the importance of a live room. Okay? With live markets and live trades. That's a fertile soil to learn how to trade. Okay? Along with the group training, 2 hours every trading day. You get one-on-one private mentoring. The strategy you learn, the indicators you own as a passport holder are fluid across all markets and all time frames. Futures, stocks, crypto, Forex, ETF, price flows the same across all markets and all time frames. Support to resistance, back to support, back to resistance, over and over, again and again, a never-ending cycle. When you become a passport holder, you'll get the Logic 247 alerts around the clock. Get the concierge trade alerts every night when they're published. You get the weekly trading zones Monday morning, 6:15 a.m. Eastern. And you'll be able to attend the square dance every Thursday night, 8 p.m. Eastern, also known as the Members Only Workshop. Yeehaw! Hope to see you there. Everything a trader needs, all under one roof, one low price. mytradingiq.com. Remember, trading's not easy, but when you have a teacher, when you have a business plan, when you have a trading plan, when you have a time-tested strategy, it can be simple. So it's up to you, the hard way or the simple way. All right, day 3 of Change Your Thinking, Change Your Life. Let those with understanding receive guidance. Proverbs 1:5. The book of Proverbs begins. These are the Proverbs of Solomon. Their purpose is to teach people wisdom, to help them understand the insights of the wise, to teach people to live disciplined and successful lives, to help them do what is right, just, and fair. These proverbs will give insight to the simple knowledge and discernment to the young. Let the wise listen to these proverbs and become even wiser. Let those with understanding receive guidance. Proverbs 1:1-5. Creative thinking is simply disciplined thinking. If you think you know all there is to know, then you already know everything you're ever going to know. In order to break out of the box, you must begin by asking the right questions. You see, you can never get the right answer by asking the wrong question. Wrong questions halt the process of creative thinking. Sir Anthony J., British screenwriter, said, "The uncreative mind can spot wrong answers, but it takes a creative mind to spot wrong questions. Wrong questions halt the process of creative thinking. They send you down the same old path. In order to change your life, you must change your thinking. That means you must be willing to ask these two questions. Number one, why must it always be done this way? Is there a better way? Whether your goal is to build a better life, a better family, a better business, a better church, a better career, or a better anything, all change and progress must begin by honestly asking those two questions. The saying is true: if you build a better mousetrap, the world will beat a path to your door. So, do you want to succeed? Then you must be willing to change your thinking in order to accomplish it. And that's our good word for today. Thanks so much for tuning in. Whoever you are, wherever you are, may God continue to richly bless you with His mercy and with His grace. And I'll see you at the bell.
Remember this, there is no greater return on investment than to see a human life changed and given hope. As always, pray hard and trade safe. Any financial information discussed on this show is simply the opinion of our host, Dwayne Reeves, his co-hosts, and guests. To learn more about trading E-mini futures or to take a 1-week free trial in our live trading room, call 1-866-928-3310. 866-928-3310. Information discussed on this radio program should not be construed as a recommendation to buy or sell any security. Always do your own due diligence and consult with a licensed securities broker or financial planner before making any investment decision.